Om Nam Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So I wanted to seek the blessings of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar Krishna, Balaram, Bal Gopal, Gonitai Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembly devotees. Continuing with the summary of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the absolute essence of all Vedic knowledge given by Krishna 5,000 years ago, and in just 700 verses, even less, because Krishna spoke something like 560 verses, something like that. So these verses summarize all of the Vedic philosophy, and we don't have to read all of the Vedas in order to get an idea of Sanatan Dharma, because Krishna has done it in a summarized form for us. In Kali Yuga, it's so hard to focus on anything for any length of time. So Krishna has made it easy for us, given us this knowledge in a succinct way. And what a wonderful way as well. So we've covered the first 6 chapters in very brief way. And the first 6 chapters relate to Gyan Yoga. The second 6 chapters which are in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, relate to Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga is in between Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga and Gyan Yoga. So the first 6 chapters is Karma Yoga. And the reason why it's in the middle, because Bhakti is protected. We have to protect our Bhakti. And we have to do whatever we can to protect the service that we do to the Supreme Lord. Because it's very easy to, especially in the age of Kali Yuga, to lose that desire to serve the Lord. Very, very easy. So we have to protect it. So in the same way, Bhagavad Gita protects bhakti in the middle of the Gita itself. So, chapter 7, knowledge of the absolute. And why is this the beginning of the bhakti part? Because as soon as you bring in the Supreme Lord, then we are turning whatever activities we're doing into bhakti, because the connection is then with the Supreme Lord. That makes it bhakti. This is the beginning of the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita, which focuses on Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga starts when Lord Krishna enters the process. Krishna is the supreme truth, the supreme cause, sustaining force of everything, both material and spiritual. This understanding is very rarely given, where we try to understand that Krishna is actually the supreme truth. The Vedas can try to perhaps divert our attention from Krishna and divert it into towards the demigods, or perhaps towards Lord Shiva, or perhaps towards Lord Vishnu. Nothing wrong with Lord Vishnu in the sense that he's part of the Supreme. But it is said, Ishwara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Nadi Radhi Govind, Sarvakarma Karma. Ishwara Parama Krishna, the supreme truth is Krishna, from whom even Vishnu is an incarnation. But this is not very well understood, even within Sanatan Dharma. But we don't necessarily push it down people's throats, because this is the way that it has been designed. So not everybody can have access to the supreme truth through Krishna. But we should consider ourselves very fortunate. And although we have no reason to be so fortunate, but the Lord is very kind through his devotees. He's given us this incredible mercy. So we should be very thankful, humble, and tolerant that he's allowing us this. It can be taken away just like that. Advanced souls surrender unto him in devotion, whereas other souls divert their minds to other objects of worship. Krishna mentions certain philosophical truths to instill confidence and conviction in the process of bhakti yoga. So here he gives some wonderful messages to Arjuna. The themes of this chapter are as follows. Hearing The first and most important process of bhakti, Shravanam, attentively about the Supreme Lord. Very, very important. Everything actually begins from this process of hearing. If we don't hear about the Supreme Lord, the devotees talking about the Supreme Lord, don't hear the holy names that we are chanting, then we are really missing out on the most important process of bhakti. So hearing is such an important aspect of spiritual life. And hearing means we have to try to not have prejudices, preconceptions in our mind. Hearing means hearing with an open heart, open mind, especially from the correct sources, bona fide, spiritually enlivening, enlightened sources. If we hear from anybody, it's a little, Prabhupada explains, a bit like when the serpent touches the milk becomes poison. So milk is nectar, but when it's touched by a serpent, it becomes poison. So similarly, philosophical knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, is nectar, but when it's heard from somebody who doesn't really understand Bhagavad Gita, then it can have the opposite effect. So we have to be very careful about our source of hearing. Who are we hearing from? Very careful indeed. Krishna gives a sense of where he is present in the material world. So he gives an idea to Arjuna. And he says things like, everything rests in him, just like the string that holds together the pearls in a necklace. So when you see the necklace, it's very beautiful. So when you see the creation, it's very beautiful. But we don't see the hand behind the creation. Just like in the necklace, you don't see the string that's holding it together. This is the humility of God. He stays in the background. It's very easy to miss him, even through the beauty of this world, thinking that this has just happened by chance, as is taught in the Western world. A big bang took place and this wonderful creation came into being, just like that. There's nothing more absurd that is being taught in our schools than this philosophy. From nothing came something amazing. But the Lord, he hides himself. He's like that string that holds the pearls in the necklace. So it's all because of him, but he won't give easy access to himself to anybody. The types of people who approach him and those who don't. So he describes 4 types of people who approach him. Those who are in distress, those who are desiring wealth, those who want knowledge, and those who are just seeking the absolute truth. And he calls all of them magnanimous. Udharan, he calls them. They're very kind-hearted because they are approaching him. So we see the humility of the Lord. He's even those who are seeking wealth, he calls them kind-hearted because they've come to him. They want something. It's a business for them. I'll worship you, my Lord. Give me wealth. But he says, okay, at least they have come to me. And he's so grateful to them for coming to him. And then those who don't worship the Supreme Lord, he mentions 4 types. I can't remember exactly who they are now. The envious, and can't remember exactly who the 4 types are, who don't approach him. But we don't necessarily worry about the 4 types of people who don't approach him, because like Prabhupada, like the book distributors who give out the Bhagavad Gita, they approach anybody. They will not look at whether this person might be favorable or not favorable. Like Lord Nityananda, when he came, he didn't consider not to approach Jagai and Madai, even though they were drunkards and womanizers and so many bad qualities. So the devotees of the Lord. They're very kind-hearted and merciful. They don't consider these four to not be eligible for the mercy of the Lord. And then Lord Krishna explains in this chapter about the worship of devatas, and he compares that to the worship of the Supreme Lord. He explains how antvattu phalam tesam, the fruits of the devatas are temporary, they won't last long, and also they are very limited. How can somebody give you what they don't have, right? They don't have the ability to give you eternal happiness. Oops, what happened? Okay, good. They don't have the ability to give you eternal happiness. So they cannot give us a position in the spiritual world. All they can give, the devatas, is some temporary fruits, maybe even some residence in the heavenly planets. But even if we are in the heavenly planets, it's temporary. We won't be there for a long time. Once our good karma is finished, then we're back again, down onto earth again. So what's the point? What's the point of that? But what we want to do is worship the Supreme Lord, who can grant us eternal happiness in his world, whose fruits are eternal. So it's not that we worship him for his fruits, but we worship him because we want to fall in love with him. And once we're in love with the Lord, then nothing really matters. Whether we're here or whether we're there, it's all the same. So that's a brief idea of chapter 7. Chapter 8 is attaining the Supreme, how to reach Krishna. Arjuna asks Krishna about the terms he uses in the last verse of the 7th chapter. And the Lord answers him. So he asks about 6 or 7, maybe 8 questions. I can't remember exactly. And Krishna answers them within a verse or two, except the last question. And the last question was about death. So Krishna answers him about how we can know the Lord at the time of death. Many consider it morbid to contemplate death. So sometimes we end up talking about death and dying and how this world is temporary and nothing lasts, everything will finish. It may sound a little negative or perhaps depressing, but it's not meant to be. It isn't, because actually death is the beginning of something extraordinary if we get it right. But it is, so death, it is nevertheless a real situation. Nobody wants to experience it, but everyone has to face it. There are 4 such unavoidable predicaments. Birth, once you die, you're going to take birth. Birth, disease, old age, ultimately death. So we often forget the inevitability of death because we get so entangled in our daily life and daily routine that we forget that this is a very temporary position that we have attained, and it can finish at any moment without a moment's notice. So Krishna deals with this subject, and death does not have to be a morbid subject, especially when one is in connection or trying to be in connection with the Supreme. Death is the beginning of a wonderful transition, potentially. So what are the themes of this chapter? Arjuna asks a number of questions. One of them is about what happened at the time of death. Krishna replies, especially the last point he talks about for many verses. Replies, what state of consciousness one has at the time of death one will achieve. So this is we always mention how there are three very important factors when we're looking at what is our next life. One is our karma, our activities. Another is our desires. What do we want? God will fulfill what we want. But the third is consciousness. Where are we at? Where is our consciousness at? If it's like that of an animal, then that's the next destination. If it's that like a heavenly person, kind-hearted and gentle, and charitable, then our consciousness will be at that level, and the destination will be towards the heavens. But if we have a consciousness of being fully devoted to the Supreme, and that consciousness is especially manifested at the time of death, we'll achieve the supreme world, supreme spiritual world. So Krishna describes the destination of various practitioners. He describes about the yogi. The yogi, if he passes away when the sun is in the southern hemisphere, then he may end up in the hellish planets. One who, the yogi who leaves his body in the northern, when the sun is in the northern hemisphere. This is what Bhishma, he was waiting for the time when the sun will enter the northern hemisphere, and then he left his body, controlled his death. But also Krishna says the devotee doesn't care whether the sun is in the north or in the south. He doesn't care because he's already under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the boss of the sun. So the devotee, he is simply focused on trying to please the Lord, trying to serve the Lord, trying to serve the devotees, pleasing the devotees. When he dies, is no difference to him, makes no difference to him, because what he's doing now while he's living, he's going to continue after his death, and that is serving. Krishna also describes what happens, this is the one, to the yogi at different times of passing and the supreme position of his devotees. So that's a very, very interesting chapter. So, okay. Chapter 9 is entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. Just as a pearl is hidden within a shell, or as a king travels surrounded by an entourage, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is hidden in the middle of the conversation. So hence why this is entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. Yes, Madhuban.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
That's okay.
I don't understand about why Bhishma waited for when is north side ma Surya hoy suat tu bhuli gayi any story why any raj हुई थी
Bhishma.
हाँ
Bhishma.
जो if he is he wasn't actual devotee.
No, he was. He is.
So why
But he had this benediction, vardhan meditu, he can choose the time of his death.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
he could choose the
And
time.
otherwise, he could have gone early as well.
No
And he
problem.
wanted to go exit that time.
Yeah,
Oh,
because he could choose. He could choose.
okay. Okay.
And he
Thank
knew
you.
also the Lord, he's present. So, he had a plan. He knew the Lord's plan. Bhishma was something very special.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mahajan, yeah, is very knowledgeable. He knew the Lord. He had other things to do. And he wanted to go, not really when the sun was up. That was by the by. It was when Krishna was present in front of him. That's what he was waiting for. Yeah, that's what.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
And,
thanks.
and Krishna had some plans. Krishna had a plan that Bhishma would instruct Yudhishthir about how to rule the kingdom. So there was many things going on at the same time. Yeah, many things going on at the same time.
Thank you.
But yeah, good. Thank you very much, Madhuben. Thank you for asking that question. In the 9th chapter, Krishna outlines the king of all knowledge. Raj Vidya, this is the name of the chapter. And the most secret of all secrets, he explains the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, the perfection of spiritual practice, and the ultimate goal of life. So the themes are Krishna is about to reveal most confidential information about himself to his faithful devotee. So he does emphasize this, that if you're a faithful devotee, if you're envious of me, you will get nothing. Like Duryodhana was very envious of Krishna. He tried to even imprison him when he went as a peace messenger to Hastinapur. Very envious. So he got, although he was seeing Krishna face to face, he was hearing Krishna speak. He didn't understand Krishna. Krishna didn't reveal anything to him because he had no faith. But Arjuna had great faith. So we also, this is something for us to make sure that we don't doubt the Lord. We don't know. We can ask questions. He loves questions. Bhagavad Gita is all about question answers. Srimad Bhagavad Puran is always all about question answers. It's not that we blind followers of Krishna. He doesn't want a blind follower. He wants intelligent devotees who really understand. But we have to keep the faith. Yes, we might not understand this now, my dear Lord, and I'll question you until I do understand it. But I have faith in you, complete faith in you, that one day you will reveal this to me. Another theme, the inconceivable nature of the Lord. We will never be able to understand him. This is, the Lord says so many things in the Bible. I am within the atom, but I'm not in the atom. How do you understand that? I am within the universe, but I'm not in the universe. How can we even understand these comments? These are contradictory comments, but it applies to the Lord. That's why he's saying it. So, yes, we may not understand, but does it really matter if we don't understand it? Yes, we will keep that question in our heart until we understand it, but it's not going to stop us from serving the Lord, to serving the devotees.
Sorry. What did you say? Why he didn't answer about that? I mean, atom is.
No, he says to Arjun that I am in the universe.
Yeah.
I am within the universe, but I'm also
Within the
not in the universe.
yeah.
So several times he makes statements which are contradictory to each other.
Yeah.
It's very hard to understand. It can be very hard to understand, but it doesn't stop us from doing our seva. We may not understand because this is Krishna. Krishna says one thing and he means something totally different as well. This is the
So nobody can understand, or nobody would understand, or nobody.
yeah.
That's what you say. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very hard. If we think we understand the Lord, he will throw a googly. He will. Something will happen to make us realize, oh my goodness, I don't understand the Lord himself. Not just us, Madhuben, but even the Lord himself doesn't know the limit of his power, his beauty, his strength. One time in Dwarka, he happened to see his image in the mirror. He saw himself and he was thinking, who is this gorgeous person? So even the Lord himself doesn't understand the end of his own glory. So who are we?
Oh.
So who are we to understand him?
So that's why anything you learn, or if possible, everything you learn, but there is still question mark for
There
some
is
point.
we shouldn't think I have learned everything about God.
I
Yes,
know it's not not possible to learn
not possible.
everything in this life, but still there is a question mark. If anybody try it, but there is no 100% answer. Nobody can get the answer, isn't it?
Yeah, and another way to look at it is we have to remain humble. As soon as we think, I know it all, our pride increases, our ego increases. And this is what the Lord, you see, He
Yeah, they put
wants
you
our,
down. Yeah.
wants our pride right down.
Yeah.
So if we ever think, oh, yeah, મને તો ભગવાનની બધી ખબર છે. Often we get this, we give somebody a book, they say, oh, I know it all, don't worry. And you say, okay.
So he works other way around again. And
It works the other way around.
yeah, yeah,
That's
I understand what you mean. Yeah, that's what at the end we say. This is his lila.
Lila, yeah. Lila, that's right. Very good. Very nice, Madhumen. There are many misconceptions about the Lord. And Krishna explains this and establishes the status of worshipping him exclusively. So, according to the Vedas, you can worship other devatas, but Krishna explains avajananti ma mudha. He says those who are foolish, they don't understand the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, they will worship other beings, not knowing that the others, the devatas, are also getting the fruits from him to give to others, to give to us. So Krishna explains the position of the Lord himself and the devatas and others as well. So it's a very good chapter, this one, to read, especially if one has any doubts about why we should worship Krishna exclusively, alone, nobody else. So then Krishna also describes what happens to one who commits sin. He explains apichet sudacharo, something like that. How even if somebody is very sinful, because of the past conditioning, past karma, he does something ridiculous. But because that person, he knows he's done something wrong, and he is very, very sorry about that. And he hasn't gone away from his bhakti. Then Krishna explains that that person is not lost. He's righteous. He's still righteous. Even though he's done something wrong, he's still righteous. This isn't a passport to do all sorts of rubbish and still be considered a devotee of God. No. But sometimes, because of our past, we can make dreadful errors of judgment. But the Lord does not dismiss that devotee, because that devotee will still understand his mistake and take shelter of the Lord and become fixed again in bhakti. I think Krishna says in this verse, in this chapter, declare it boldly, Arjun. My devotee never perishes. So sometimes, Krishna, he doesn't, when he makes a promise, we might think, okay, Lord's made a promise, but he doesn't always keep his promise. But the Lord always honors the promise of his devotee. So his devotee makes a promise, the Lord is duty bound to honor that. So he says to Arjun, you tell everybody, my devotee never perishes. So this is what we understand, that whoever takes shelter of the Lord is never lost. The Lord will never abandon him, no matter what. So this is very soothing to know. And even though we may face challenges in our own lives, it's not that we've become devotees of Krishna and suddenly no challenges are there. No, the challenges will be even more forcefully against us. Like Krishna took Arjun right in front of Bhishma. his worst nightmare. It wasn't that Krishna just took him to Duryodhan and, okay, yes, let's wind him up, and no, he took him in front of Bhishma, his most beloved grandfather. So it's not that we take shelter of Krishna and suddenly all of our problems go away. No, problems might even increase. Krishna might want us to face those problems, but he is there. He's with us, holding us, carrying us through it. That he's made a promise. So wanted to stop there. Any more comments, any questions by anybody?
Yeah,
Hare
it's
Krishna. Oh, it's okay.
Malini.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, where does Krishna say that about that he will carry us and he is with us?
Yes.
You know?
Oh, I'll find the verse. He says it in two different places. He says once, he says to Arjun, declare body, my devotee never perishes. But the other one, he says, if my devotee lacks anything, I will give that. And if he has anything, I will protect that. And he's talking about the bhakti, of course. So those two verses are there. I'll find it and send it to you. I can't remember.
No,
Does
that's no
anybody,
problem. No, it's okay. Thank you. Yeah.
if anybody remembers though the references to those verses, please do let me. I should know them because I did learn those verses one time years ago.
Is it something that goes along the line? Ame bhaktya pranashyati tadaham bhakti uparyutam ashnami prayatatmanah. I don't
That's
know the
good.
first line.
That's good. Yes. What chapter was that, Anubin?
I have no idea.
I might have been in chapter 8, I think.
Might be chapter 8, 15?
Yeah,
No.
maybe. Anyway, we'll find it. But yeah, that sounds about right, Naniban, what you just said. Very good. Very good. Okay, Jayanti is looking it up. We'll find out in a minute.
Thank you. Sorry to.
No, not at
Thank
all.
you.
No, thank you. Those verses are so soothing, and really we should remember those by heart, like Naniban. Anyway,
Yeah.
Madhuban, did you have a comment?
Oh, yeah, it's a general question. If anybody asks that, what is the Vedic Dharma? So what we answer them?
Well, it's a long answer because that's why we're doing this course, right? We are on the 43rd or 44th week session now. Sanatan Dharma is Vedic Dharma, but it's very, very vast. Essentially, in very brief terms, Vedic Dharma is to understand who we are, the Atma, understand who the Supreme Atma is, and what is our relationship with him. That is, in essence, that is Vedic Dharma. Who apre konche, Bhagwan konche, ne apru sabandh suche.
Atma and Paramatma no sabandh.
Yeah. And this is exactly what Bhagavad Gita goes through, that we are Atma, and he is the Supreme, and there are duties attached to our life in terms of relationship with the Supreme.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. If there's nothing else, we can stop there. We haven't found the verse yet, but we will do, and I'll share it later. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Sanatan Dharma ki jai, Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki jai.